Hello and welcome to Cutter Farms. We're back with another episode of Farmville, North Carolina. And today is going to be a busy day. We got lots of stuff lined up. I did go ahead and toss that one pallet of lettuce in the back of the truck. At some point today, we'll just run that up to town in between things. And a thank you to the people who posted in the comments and pointed out that we can indeed do some interesting things here with the greenhouse. I can actually set this up to do multiple crops at once. I know this intuitively. I just never actually thought about it. So I'm going to come in here and we're just going to activate all of these. And this will burn through our water quite a bit faster. And I don't know if it's set up in a way that we're going to get production out of all of them equally, or the more I have, the less I'm going to make of each. But either way, looks kind of fun to have a bunch of different ones running. I set them all up to auto sell, so we're not going to have to worry about hauling them anywhere at this point in time. And we're just going to dump some more water in here. It should just take more water to grow all the crops. What I do like about this, though, is look at this. All of the different plots have different crops in them now. That's a really nice touch. So we can definitely keep this going. So I've got our little tractor hooked up to the water trailer over here, and we left it full. Very convenient of us. So let's go ahead and just bring this on over to the greenhouse here. We'll get this filled up, and then today we're going to be jumping into some planting. We did get some seed and liquid fertilizer delivered out here to the farm, and we're going to be getting this planter out and filling it up here shortly, and seeing how this Kubota is going to do on the planting. A full tank of water. We're still not quite full here, so I'm probably going to set this thing up to fill up one more time. And while we get the planter out and filled up, that will give us something to keep this guy going on. I think if I remember correctly, this takes a little bit to fill up. So while that guy's filling up, we're going to see if we can get this planter out of here. We are kind of into the corner here, but I should be able to make this turn. Oh yeah, this thing's a lot shorter than I was anticipating for some reason. So we've got no problems moving this thing around. And this planter is set up to take both liquid fertilizer and seed. So let's go ahead and start with the liquid fertilizer. I don't know how much we're actually going to get into the planter itself here of the container. Not the whole container, which is probably a good thing. And then we're just going to start tossing seed in here. I bought enough seed, I think, to do the entirety of both of my fields. However, I know precision farming has kind of changed the seed utilization in the game a little bit, and I'm not as familiar with how that works out. I have the field calculator mod installed, which I've used, and before precision farming, this would be really accurate to tell you how much seed you need for a given field for a different crop type. I just don't think it's been updated, as far as I know, to take into account the variable seed rate of precision farming. I could be wrong, and so if you know, please leave a comment below. I would be really curious, as these are mods that I have not had a chance to use together, but we're probably going to just find out either way here by planting and seeing if we have enough seed. And I think this is also the first time I've used this planter as well, so I'm impressed by the animations here on it. Everything's unfolding and getting ready to go here. I really dig this. I know a lot of people get frustrated with more realistic unfolding animations because they're too slow. I kind of like it. I'm digging this right now. So we're gonna get over here. I'm trying to figure out how I want to do my headlands on this field. I think I am gonna take this pass up along the driveway here, though, just because it doesn't make a lot of sense to have to be constantly turning around here in this little short area. And we're just gonna make the curve and take off the headlands on each end, I think, and then just do our normal up and down rows is my plan. And we can see that precision farming is catching the nitrogen up on this field This field has literally no nitrogen on it right now, and so we're going to burn through that liquid fertilizer quite quickly, I'm afraid. Luckily, we do still have some left, and that was one thing I guess I didn't really pay that much attention to, is how much of that we're going to need. I just bought a single container of it because it's so expensive, and so we're going to just be hoping we have enough, because otherwise we're going to have to take out a bit of a loan to get another pallet of that on the farm here, which is something that I'd prefer not to have to do. We are already pretty significantly in debt after our adventures with the pumps and hoses equipment. And so we're just going to be trying to get by this season. I think as we get into the next season, we will have our hog operation fully productive and making money for us here. I think we're not going to sell any of the hogs this year just to keep production high. But as we get into next year, or maybe towards the end of this year, we will be able to start selling those off for quite a healthy profit, I feel like. The way things are set up in Farm Sim, the more hogs you have, the faster you get even more hogs. And so it just becomes this cycle of how much feed can I afford to give them, and as we run lower on feed, we'll start selling some of them off to slow down production until we can get caught up again. I'm really hoping that these 2 fields of corn is going to give us enough to keep a much larger amount of hogs fed through the next year. I know we had 1 field worth of corn that we started everything off with here, and that field was pretty low from a productivity perspective. And so hopefully here, as we get into the next run of these fields, we'll be able to improve productivity. Now I'm going to split the rows here. We're only going to plant the left half of the planter here, and that should put us in a good spot to take this long row down and do the headlands on the other end of this field. But yeah, we're burning through that liquid fertilizer real quick right now. Already down to 77%, about 300 gallons left. Now I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this straight down for these long rows, and then we'll flip back around here and take the headland passes off. I guess we're driving into the neighbor's grass field here a little bit. I'm very tempted actually to buy this grass field and get another field right on the farm here. That might be a good option, but I don't know if it's going to be very cost effective, because I think that field is also part of the farm that's sitting right there, and I really don't need another farmyard right next to ours. A third bin might be nice, but I just don't know that we need it, and honestly be kind of a pain to have to haul everything over there. We'd maybe have to put a little road in or something to get over to it if we did buy that, because I don't want to have to go all the way out and around on the blacktop with all the equipment just to go run that bin. So this is a nice size planter for us, a 16 row here. We probably could have got away with a 12 row, but I don't know, I'm digging this. It's a perfect size for my play style here. We're gonna knock off 2 headland passes, which will give us more than enough room to be turning around here as we do the up and down rows. And I feel like we're gonna knock this field out pretty quick. It's not taking nearly as long to hit the headlands here as I was expecting. Part of that is we are going a solid 9 miles an hour with this planter, which is a smidge faster than the older style planters that I'm used to farming with, so I'm enjoying this quite a bit. And we're going to take off just this little bit back here behind the bins. I feel like if we did have a 12-row planter, this would work out to be a perfect 3 passes here for us. So these fields are originally sized for slightly older equipment, which is okay. But now that we've got some modern equipment on the farm, we're going to be taking advantage of that, even if it means the occasional awkward corner or angle here and there. Got to use every inch of that land. Now, I could use some front weights on this tractor. I'm having just a smidgen of a hard time turning occasionally. I could tell that the weight of this planter behind me, when I've got it raised up on the 3-point especially, is just a little bit heavier than the steering is happy about. And I am kind of pushing over here into the grass just a bit to make sure that we get everything. Probably losing about a row over here into the weeds, but that's all right. And let's see how well we've got. Oh yeah, this headland is quite wide. Shouldn't be any problems getting turned around here. Oh, but we didn't set down the planter quite early enough. There we go. To remember the hydraulics take just a smidgen to get lowered down there. And so far, at least, it looks like we've been pretty average for the variable seed rate here on this field. Right in the middle, 10 seeds per square meter, which I'm not quite sure how that translates into feet exactly. There's 3 to 1 is the kind of high-level meter-to-foot conversion. We're in the average zone, which I think means that we should expect the field calculator numbers to be somewhat accurate. I think average seed rate, in the middle here is supposed to be more or less the same seed rate that you would expect in base game with precision farming, but I don't know for sure. We're already 42% of the way into our fertilizer, or I guess that'd actually be we've used 58% of our fertilizer at this point. And I'm not sure if I would think this is half done or not on this field. We have done quite a bit on the headlands and the smaller parts of the field around the corners there around the yard. But I do think we're going to need to pop back into the yard at some point here and refill this fertilizer in order to finish this field, which also means we are going to need another container of fertilizer at least on the next field here. Now, we do have a good chunk more nitrogen on the other field from our slurry. However, I think it's still going to be something where we're going to go through quite a bit of liquid fertilizer here. Realistically, we could hold off and do that a little bit later in the spring if we had some side dressing equipment or something, but we just don't have the money to purchase or really even lease equipment like that right now. Plus, I need to do a little bit of digging, see what kind of mods are out there. I think I saw a few good-looking side dressing mods that I'd like to use at some point. But we'll have to shop around here. Maybe that's a good investment for the next year. Although with precision farming, I do find it easier to just let it adjust the nitrogen level here for us when we're doing something like planting and just be one and done. Even though I guess realistically, you'd probably want to apply some of that nitrogen a little bit later in the year when the corn actually needs it and it's growing. So we'll play around with that. We'll think about how we want to do that in the future. We are getting into a red area here for variable seed rate, which means we're using even more seeds as we go through. You can kind of see the band on the map here. Trying to find a way to zoom that map in a little bit. And so I really like seeing little features like that, seeing that we are using up more seed in certain areas of our field. We're going to make one more round here and then I think run up to the yard and get some fertilizer. I don't want to have to stop mid-field or mid-pass. I'd rather go out when we're on the headland and get that fertilizer. So let's hope 25% should be more than enough to get back down to the other end of the field there. It looks like we are using a good 10%, maybe a smidge more here on a given round. So we could probably have squeezed one more round in here, but I just don't want to risk it. I would rather sneak into the yard while we're in a good spot and just get this fertilizer filled up. Now the question being, can I do it without having to fold the planter up here? Oh, look at that. It's going to work out perfectly for us. So as long as we're here, we might as well grab the rest of the seed and get it topped off. Now, I was somewhat unimpressed with how much fertilizer we just got out of there. So we're at 47%. I think that's going to be enough to finish this field, but we definitely need another pallet. So let's get this guy started back on the field, and then as we're running down the row here, we'll put a call in and see if we can get another pallet of that fertilizer delivered. Hopefully the bank is up for giving us a few $1,000s more to get through planting here. We definitely got to plan a little bit better on our inputs for next year. But hopefully we won't need to be buying as much fertilizer with the hog setup kicking into high gear here. So with borrowing another $5,000 to get our fertilizer purchased, we're at a total of $90,000 in debt at the moment, which is a lot more than I wanted to do for this series. But it can't be helped. And then we're going to buy a pallet of fertilizer here for $3,200. And that's going to get delivered right up to the yard there using the store deliveries mod. So cost us a little bit extra. That's all right. I actually like that aspect of the mod. I don't mind using the mod to get my stuff delivered, and I think having to be charged a few percent on those items is a fair trade-off. And on the flip side of the variable seed rate, we're in a section of the field here that is using less seeds than other areas. So that's going to work out. I think it all balances out, especially in this field where we've got a lot of different soil types. So at the end of the day, I feel like our seed calculations were probably pretty accurate. Again, we'll still find out as we get into the other field here, which is bigger than this one. I think it's actually a couple acres bigger. I want to say this is a 3-acre field and the other one's 5. I think we can actually see that right here. These are hectares, not acres. But yeah, 3.78 and 5.17. So that's closer than I thought. That's almost 4. So yeah, it's about an acre and a half different between the two. Not quite, or a hectare difference between the two. So that's all right. And that wraps up our last pass on this field. Like I said, we've got quite a bit of seed left. We're running low on the fertilizer, but we've got a whole nother container here. So as long as we're done with that field and up in the yard, I'm going to go ahead and just top this off, and that's going to put us in a good spot to get started on this next field. I'm going to go ahead and get this tractor lined up. I think the best spot to start this off is actually this little area right behind the shed here. But we're not going to do that just now. We're going to save that for next episode. However, before we wrap things up, I do want to jump over here. And oh my goodness, we left this New Holland running the entire time. Fuel is way too expensive for that. But it is what it is. So we're going to run this over here and top off this greenhouse real quick. And just see if this will fill out the water. I would love for this to top off the tanks here. And there we go. We've topped off the greenhouse. We've got a bit left in the tank. I'm going to go ahead and just park this right back over there, and we can start filling the tank right back up, I think. So with all of that out of the way, we've made a good progress here on spring. We've got everything rocking and rolling. I'm really curious to see how our fertilizer consumption goes in this other field here. And yeah, just get our crops into the ground. Hopefully you've enjoyed today's episode. We're finally starting to make a lot of progress on this series, and I'm really excited to see how these hogs are going to do. We're really starting to ramp up here. The reproduction's going to hit again next month, so we'll have another 100 hogs in here. And these guys are going to hit through puberty in 2 more months and start cranking out more hogs every 4 months themselves. So I'm really curious to see how this goes. We are going to chew through this food pretty fast as we start doubling up on our hogs every few months. That's all right, though. If you enjoyed today's episode, drop a like. It helps me out immensely. That's all for today. Kedrick out. Help us avoid some of these squiggly rows. Oops. I've pushed buttons too much and got off sync with my GPS here. By the time we get the GPS running, we've covered the majority of the field here, unfortunately. Happens that way sometimes.